What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. So today I am bringing you guys a story time, my labor and delivery story time. I know it has been a minute since I have uploaded a video for you guys, but I am back and wanted to record a video. So let's get right into the video. So guys, I want to start out by just giving you kind of like a little insight on my labor and delivery story. For some who are not mothers and have never experienced going into labor. So I'm going to just kind of give you guys some details of that day and leading up to me going to the hospital and all of that stuff. I do have a son. He will be 1 year old in December, and his name is Kane. So yes, so let's get right into the video. So guys, let's start off with that day that I started having contractions. Well, at the time I didn't know that they were contractions that I was having, but yeah. So anyways, it was just a normal day, probably like around, I would say 6:30 in the morning. I woke up and I kind of started having like some small cramps, like just like abdominal cramps, kind of like you're about to start your period. But I didn't think anything of it. I turned that light on. I didn't think anything of it just because I had previously had the cramps before and they never like progressed. They never got stronger. So I didn't really think nothing of it. I just thought like, okay, they're just cramps, like, you know, no big deal, nothing. So I ended up getting into the bath. I ran some hot water and was like, maybe, you know, if I sit in here for a little bit, like the cramps will kind of, you know, kind of go away. So I got out the bath or whatever. Then like maybe 2 hours later, I noticed that they were kind of starting to pick up and get a little bit more like stronger. So they started really like light, and then they just got, you know, continues to get stronger as the time went on. So yeah, so I texted my boyfriend, my son's father. He was at work. He had to be at work at like 7. Yeah, 7. So I texted him. I'm like, ooh, like I kind of feel a little weird. Like I think the baby might be coming today. Mind you guys, my due date was December 26th of 2017. If I didn't have him on that day, they were going to induce me on January 1st, which was New Year's of 2018. So that was my induced date if I didn't have him. So yeah, so back to the story. So I texted him, I'm like, you know, I feel like I'm about to, you know, we could have a baby today. And he was just like, no, like you're just, you know, you're just kind of cramping or whatever, and maybe it'll go away. So I'm like, okay. So I kind of waited or whatever. And then my mother-in-law, she contacted me and she was like, you know, are you having contractions? And I was like, I think so, but at the time I wasn't really sure because, I mean, this is my first child, so I didn't really know, you know, what to expect. So she texted me, she called and was just like, so you might want to start timing them. So I downloaded an app actually, and to where you can time your contractions, where it times it for you. So I would like time the contractions every time I would have one. So at first they were like coming 5 to 7 minutes apart, and then I mean they remained like that for probably like an hour maybe. And my mom-in-law was like, well, do you want to come over? Like I'll come get you, that way we can kind of just see, because my son's father was at work at the time. So she was like, we can just see, and then, you know, if we need to go from there, we'll go from there. So I went to her house and was just chilling and stuff with her and my son's father's sisters, which I kind of like my sisters as well. So yeah, we were just chilling and stuff, and then like I was still timing my contractions. They were coming probably now about like every 5 minutes, like every 5 minutes. So they were going from like every 5 to 7 to like 7 to 8 minutes, somewhere around there. So they started kind of coming a little bit more frequently. So I told my mom-in-law and stuff about it, and she was just like, you know, just keep timing them. I guess if they're like coming every 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, I'm not sure. I guess you have to go to the hospital or whatever. So then here comes to the part where my sisters, my son's aunties, they were telling me like, oh, drink castor oil because it could speed up your labor, like if you are in labor. And so I was like, I read up about that, but I don't know, because at first I was trying to like kickstart my labor, but I wasn't really gonna drink castor oil. I was just gonna like walk and do, you know, do exercises and stuff to like, you know, jumpstart the labor. So they actually had some on hand, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna try it. I'm just gonna try it and see if it works. And at this point, they were the contractions were coming probably every couple of minutes. So I was like, okay, let me try this and see, you know, if it's gonna work or not. So I told her, I'm like, well, you gotta try it with me, because I'm not gonna try it by myself. Like, of course she's not pregnant or anything, but I just was like, I don't want to be the only one trying that. It's like nasty oil, I don't know, thick, I don't know, consistency. So I'm like, I don't want to try that like by myself, so you're gonna have to with me. So, and on top of that, I heard it gives you like maybe like constipation or something like that. I don't really know, but so I was like, well, you're gonna try with me. So we both had like a Sprite, and we both poured some. Well, obviously I poured more into mine just because I'm the one pregnant, so she only had like a little bit. So I had tried it, we both tried it, and at first like well, at first we actually used a spoon, and I actually poured some in a spoon, like a little teaspoon of it, and drank it, and put it in my mouth, swallowed it, and then used my Sprite to kind of chase it down. And so yeah, so then I tried that, and nothing like really happened or anything. Like, I wasn't like too worried about anything, because I didn't think nothing was really gonna happen. But so yeah, so then so we tried that, and then afterwards, like, I was walking up and down the stairs to kind of, you know, get things going, jump start stuff if I was in labor, which I'm pretty sure I was in labor at the time. So I was walking up and down the stairs and stuff. At this point, after that, I had contacted my OBGYN, because they were coming probably every like 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, and I was like, you know, I'm having some pain, I'm having some contractions, you know, do I need to go in, or, you know, what do I need to do? And she's like, oh, it's just fine, like, you're probably not in labor, kind of just blew it off. And I'm just like, oh, well, okay, I mean, I'm pretty sure I am in labor, but she's telling me like, oh no, it's just fine, so you don't have to go to the hospital. So at this point, probably like 10 or 15 minutes after I drank the castor oil, like, I was having a lot of pain down there, like abdomen pain, and pelvic pain. And my mom-in-law was like, how far along are your contractions now? And I was like, probably like every 2 to 3 minutes is when they were kind of coming. They were kind of fluctuating a little bit, but I was having pain. So I'm like, she's like, oh, let's just go, we're gonna take you to the hospital, like, you're in labor. So we drove to the hospital. We called my son's father, and we told him. He left work and he was on his way up there. So then we got to the hospital, and at this point my contractions were coming like every 1 minute, like every minute, literally, like back to back to back to back to back. Like, it was just constant pain, and the pain, it just felt like menstrual cramps, but like 10 times worse than what menstrual cramps were. So I'm like, okay, like, this is it, like, I'm having him today. Like, I just knew it. I just knew it. So then we get to the hospital, and they get me checked in and everything. They get me a room. Well, they like put you in this like little room first to kind of like check you. And when they first checked me, I believe I was at a 3. I think I was at like 3 centimeters. And then it kind of just went from there. Like, I went to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7, like super fast. So then they transferred me to my labor and delivery room, where I was gonna have the baby at. And then they put me in the room, got me all settled and everything, and then gave me the epidural, because the pain was so like unbearable. Like, all you could do really is just cry, because it hurts so bad. And I mean, they really can't give you anything until you pretty much get your epidural to ease the pain. So I got the epidural. The epidural, the first time, it didn't work. Like, my contractions were so painful, and I feel like it didn't touch anything of my contractions, like, at all. And so probably about an hour, maybe an hour or two passed. Mind you, let me rewind the time. I got to the hospital around 12:30 p.m. I had my son at 7:56 p.m. So I was in labor for a long time. So probably a couple hours after they gave me the first epidural, at that point I was just so uncomfortable. I was just in pain. So then they came back in, the anesthesiologist came back in and gave me basically another dose of the epidural. So at that point, that actually helped, and I actually felt numb from the waist down, and the pain was like, it wasn't gone, but it was way better than what it was. So they come in, they check me again, the nurses, they come in and they check me again, and my water hadn't broke. So what they did is they broke my water for me, and at that point I think I was like at a 9 or a 10 the last time that they checked. So it was going really, really fast. So I ended up having my son at 7:56. At first, before I even got pregnant, I read up that the delivery and the afterbirth was actually painful, but I didn't feel anything. They did have to cut me down there a little bit because his head wasn't coming out. The umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck, so they kind of just had to cut me and then pull him out. When he did come out, he was purple from the cord being wrapped around his neck, and they did have to admit him into the NICU, which, if you guys don't know what the NICU is, it's just like the hospital for the section for babies, like when they're sick, after they're delivered, or if they're premature, all of that stuff. So he actually had to stay in the hospital for about 8 days because he really was having trouble breathing on his own. And I believe they said he had maybe some fluid on his lungs, so they started him on like antibiotics and all of that stuff. So yeah, so he was in the NICU for about 8 days, and then he got out, and then we were able to bring him home. So so he was born at 7:56 p.m. He was 21 inches, and literally I felt like when I had him, I'm like, what time is it? Because it seemed so late, but it really wasn't. I mean, 7, it's not too late, but when you're in labor, it's like you just lose track of time because your mind is just not on what it normally is. So yeah, when we got to bring him home, we were so happy, and he was doing way better. They made him stay in there until basically he was, able to breathe and stuff on his own and all of that stuff. So, which I'm grateful for, because I know sometimes hospitals, they'll just send, the mother and the child home when the child is not 100%, better, and then they get home and then something happens, and yeah, and then it's all bad from there. So, but yeah, so that is my labor and delivery story. I just wanted to kind of share that with you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you guys want to see next, what you guys want me to talk about on my channel. If you do like the story time, please let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.